Welcome back to the podcast, guys. As you can see, I've got a little bit of a new toy. It's not really a new toy. It's still the same microphones that I had previously, my Rode ones, but we've just levered her up a little bit, and I just think it's going to make things so much better. I don't know. I just feel like I talk with my hands a lot, and so it's nice to hold something in my hands. When I used to record these episodes on my laptop, I would use my phone because I had my notes on my phone, but filming on the phone, I should say, is much better quality. So that is why I film on the phone. And I've been missing holding something in my hand. So anyway, here we are. Today's episode, I want to kind of go into firstly a little bit of a life deficit update. And then that'll lead me into my top hacks for when you're in a deficit, when you're ready to start a deficit, things you can do to make sure you have a really successful deficit, just because obviously, like I just said, I'm in a deficit at the moment, and I just think that it ties in nicely. So anyway, I'm just going to start off with a little bit of an update of all things, only because I haven't actually recorded a podcast episode since the live podcast event, which was 2.5 weeks ago now, actually. Yeah, 2.5 weeks ago. Wow. Okay. I haven't actually recorded a podcast since then because last week's episode was already pre-recorded, and then this week I'm literally recording today, the day that I'm going to upload it. And reason for that, if you listen to my Instagram stories, was because I hadn't filmed anything yet, and I was going to film the last couple of days, and then Mitchell was very sick. He was literally home from work, so sick, and I'm I can still film when I'm here, when he's here and stuff, but we are in a small space, so I thought, there's a chance you could hear his phlegm in the background, which is a bit gross, so I thought better not do that. And then even yesterday when I went onto Spotify for creators to just check something, I literally couldn't get into my account, and I was logging in, logging out, I was just why can't I get in? And then I was I had a feeling that it was potentially the platform was having an issue, and turns out I was right, because this morning it was literally fine. So here we are recording, but pretty much we are 4 days. Actually, let's start with my 12-week challenge for balancing her. So we are 4 days into the challenge so far, and the vibes are high. We're feeling good. The girls are really getting to know each other. I've had a few girls come back. They have done previous rounds, and it's just when old friends catch up, and it's just such a vibe, and getting to know everyone else. And I feel everyone is on a really similar wavelength of where they're at in their journey, what they want to focus on, which also sparked my topic for this week. But I just feel everyone's just really getting along. The group chat's really good. And it's just it just feels like wholesome friendships. And I love that, because I can jump in and I can, coach, and I can give tips and advice and this and all that. But to have the girls actually get to know each other on a more of a friendship level is just chef's kiss, honestly, because that's what we want from a group program. I say this all the time, is it was the one thing that really catapulted my health journey, my weight loss journey, all the things, was having a supportive community around me. At the time, it was literally just creating my new Instagram account, which is not new anymore. It's 6 years old, but it was creating an Instagram account just to share some stuff and connect with others who are also on a similar journey. And it literally changed the game. So that is always the reason behind why I do Balancing Her, why I have it as an ongoing membership and all those things. But I also want to quickly talk to the next 12 weeks and how I've structured it and how I'm really intentional with it, not only for to teach the girls things, but also, again, speaking to the girls and where they're at with their training, nutrition, all the things. I've really intentionally structured our monthly calls and our monthly challenges to reflect that, and also get them ready for the Christmas period. So we are currently in September, the 4th of September, and our call for September is actually next Thursday, so in a week's time. And it's all about how to handle binge eating, late night snacking, and how to overcome it so you can actually have a successful deficit and you can actually lose weight and keep it off for good. And this is probably the key thing, not only with these girls, but it's the key thing as well with all clients that come to me. It's typically people that are binging, they want to lose weight. They might not even know they're binging, but they want to lose weight and they're really struggling. And all my clients are very long term. I don't usually have anyone come in for 10, 12 weeks and then just leave. Even previous people in Balancing Her, they're staying on because there's so much more to it than just here's your 12-week weight loss program. That's not what it is. It's very intentional. So if someone's coming to me with some binge eating issues, I really look at the root cause of it, and I'm going to get into it a bit later, but I look at the root cause and then I like set out a plan for them from there, which won't always result in going into a calorie deficit within the 12 weeks at all. It might be like just looking at maintenance or just looking at like eating some more fruit or like trying different techniques. And like there's a lot that can go into it. So I'm not going to get into that yet. But that is what September is all about. And I've paired it with a water challenge, which like sounds so fucking basic. But it is so intentional because, again, water seems to be the thing that people really, really struggle with. For me, it's something that I've just been drinking 2 to 3 plus liters of water for years now. So it's just a no freaking brainer. Like I feel shit if I don't have it. But to actually get you drinking more water, people seem to really, really struggle with it. So I thought it is a perfect challenge to start off with. It ties in with our call. The whole theme of September is kind of nutrition. I had already done a nutrition challenge in July, so I didn't want to do the same thing twice within 3 months. So yeah, I thought this would be perfect for September, just to get a basic habit up there, a whole month to focus on it. The winner gets a $150 voucher for Yeti, which means they can get a new drink bottle, some travel mugs, like whatever the hell they want from Yeti. Yeti has so much stuff. When I was on that website, I was like, wow, I didn't know they sell this much. So anyway, that's on that. And then we move to October, and the call for October is all about how to train smarter, not harder. Because again, a lot of the girls, I tend to have to pull them back from however many sessions they think they can do. And I really look into their lifestyle as a whole, and I go, okay, you've told me you can do X amount of sessions, and then you've told me this is everything you're trying to fit in. And I go, you actually can't do that consistently with your lifestyle. So I will always reflect it back on what they're doing, their hobbies, their job, their routines, like all the things like that. Sorry, I have to lean over and just wake my laptop up. So yeah, their hobbies, routines, everything like that. And I literally don't have anyone doing more than 3 sessions a week. And it's split as like a lower and upper and then a full body. So if there is ever a time where they can't get in that 3rd session, yes, the full body is still intentionally programmed and important, but it's like you've hit your lower, you've hit your upper, and then now the full body is just kind of the one that you kind of set to the side. But at least you're trying to hit minimum 2 in the week, and then most times getting 3. So something else that I've learned, again, through talking to the girls and stuff, like they're really struggling to know like when to push and when to pull and like when to do a deload, which I don't think a lot of people know what that is. I'm not going to get into it now. So pushing, pulling, when to deload, like how to increase your reps and sets, and how to actually progress in the gym and actually get stronger and actually get better form, and like how to know how heavy you can go without compromising your form, and like things like that. So I'm doing a whole call on training, and then that'll be paired with a step challenge as well, which again, movement, it just all kind of ties into the one. And then the November call is all going to be about navigating the silly season, so they can go out, to their social events, guilt-free, not stressed about losing progress, all of that kind of thing. And again, it's very intentional because it ties the nutrition and the movement together, but it ties it together in a way of like, okay, now we're going to go into Christmas, December, all the things, and let's look at your lifestyles a little bit more. Let's look at what kind of events you have on. Let's look at, things are going to have to pivot. Like training is 100% going to have to pivot, A lot of people go away and they don't have the gym, or they don't have access to much, or their movement comes in a different form. Like potentially they're not going to the gym, but potentially they're, it's hot in Australia. So people go to a river and like go like wakeboarding and stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Like movement will look very, very different. So it's going to be bringing that into how they can pivot their movement to still feel good in their bodies, but then actually like have it make sense for where they are and not feel overwhelming, and actually let them still switch off. And then the same thing with nutrition. Again, like you're not going to be sitting there like tracking calories every day in December. I for sure know I'm not going to be doing that. But there's always ways of like, here are the tools and the tips and the tricks that you can use around certain social events, certain weeks, certain times. Like there's a lot that we can go into that. So yeah, they are my 3 months of balancing her. And I didn't expect to talk this much about it, but here we are. I just think, like I said, it is so intentional, the way that I do things and the way that I run these challenges and the way that I make sure everything goes in order, but like in a non-confusing way, because I'm an ADHD gal and things can get very overwhelming for me, very confusing. That is why I struggled for so long in my own health and fitness journey. And I'm like, I just need to make something that can pull away that confusion, pull away that overwhelm, and pull away, just the stress of it all. So that is what I've created with Balancing Her. And like I said, it is an ongoing membership. So if you do want to join, you can send me a DM. You can join at any time, depending when you're listening to this. And then when you send me the DM, we'll set you up to start the next week. But of course, the 12-week challenge is going. So if you join now, you can join the challenge. You'll automatically get into these calls coming up, as well as previous calls as well. In August, we actually had my beautiful friend Emma come on to do a energy healing session, which was just incredible. Her work is amazing, and to have access to something like that literally within your health and fitness challenge is just incredible. And like, it just, the way that like she can like bring you into your body. Like, I did a one-on-one retreat with her a few months ago, and I really struggled to switch off, to relax, to get into it. And then that session we did in August, it was literally a couple of weeks ago, I was like, that was so much easier for me. Like, it was just like the way that she teaches you, and like you can embody the practice. She's just unreal. Anyway, that's a tangent, but you get access to that when you join as well. I'm going to move on to my deficit update now. So not really much to say. I'm only 1.5 weeks into the deficit, to be honest. I'm doing this deficit in line with my 12-week challenge. However, I did start a week earlier because I do want to have a week in the middle of like a maintenance break. So I'll do 6 weeks, have a week break, and then do another 6 weeks, and just really see what can happen in this 12 weeks. I haven't done one this long. I think last year I did a 10-week deficit, and I hit the 10 weeks, and I remember being at a point that I was like, I feel fucked. So we literally went from deficit to maintenance straight away. Like, I went an extra 500 calories a day, and my body loved it, like responded so well. And that's like, and I knew my body was cooked. I was like, I need to be eating more food. So this will be my longest one since then, but I think I'll be able to push the 12 weeks much easier because I will have that week maintenance break in the middle. Something that's kind of changed with I want to say my mindset, not really my mindset, but just like the way I'm approaching this deficit is really more like quote unquote locked in than I have been for the couple I did earlier this year. When I say I've done a couple, I literally did like an 8-week one, had a really big break, and then I did a 6-week one, I think, and had a really big break as well. So I've just come back into another one. But really locking in, and I think just from a sense of like really thinking more deep into planning my meals, looking into my week, when I'm eating here, when I'm eating out, like all the things. And again, that's what I'll tie into the episode when I get to the hacks and stuff. But I've just like so random been watching, some people that I follow are doing their like bodybuilding debut in a couple of weeks. And like, I've been following these people since before bodybuilding was even a thing for them. And like, I am not a bodybuilder. I'm no way, shape or form ever think I will ever be one. But I've just like, wow, like if they can like lock in and, you know, spend like 3 hours a day doing training and cardio, and like some of them are on like some people have to go so low with their calories, like 1,000 calories a day, like really, really stuff that I don't promote. But something about watching them goes, oh, like if they can literally push through that, and again, this is their choice, but I'm like, if they can push through that, like fucking my 2,000 calorie deficit is fucking easy, which it is. I've never complained about it. But it's just like that mindset of like, if I feel like, oh, I'm a bit extra hungry today, or, you know, I don't know, things like that. And I've been looking more at like, okay, where can I actually change my meals to actually suit my lifestyle, where I'm at, you know, things like that. So for example, you know, I was always having eggs and avo on toast for breakfast when I'm at home, not when I'm at work. I have overnight Weet-Bix, but always having eggs and avo on toast at home. But then like I would find I was like always going over my carbs and like not always hitting my fats. And oh my God, excuse me. And fats is something that is so, so important, not just for hormone production, but literally to keep you, like, I personally find fats keep me so much fuller for longer. So I was like, oh, like, what can I do? And literally simplest thing ever, remove the bread. And I've been having omelets with like mushrooms and cheese and like a small tin of tuna as well. It literally brings the protein up to like 40 grams, maybe more for my breakfast. And then there's obviously the fats from the eggs and the cheese as well. And then mushrooms as well, which is a bit of veggies. So it's really like hitting like 3 birds with 1 stone, which is amazing. And then I have more space in my dinners or my snacks for carbs, because when Mitch cooks dinner, I literally only cook once a week. When Mitch cooks dinner, like he's generally playing with more carbs and calories and stuff. So it gives me more space for that. But anyway, I'm meant to be doing my deficit update. So basically, yeah, I think I actually did. I'm looking at my notes. I'm like, I actually did say everything I wanted to say. There's one more thing there is like, I've already had comments. Like I was having lunch with my bestie last week, And she was like, Sarah, I feel like every time I see you, you're looking smaller, and like in the best way. Like I'm looking smaller. And I was thinking about it, and I was like, it's funny because I've done a couple of deficits this year, and like my weight hasn't really dropped a lot. Like it's only been a little bit at a time. And even then, like by the time I come back to my deficit, it's crept back up a little bit as well. So my weight is not really moving. My measurements have moved a little bit. But I have also personally felt like I'll look in the mirror and I'm like, oh, like I'm looking a little bit, leaner in my stomach. Obviously not if you can see my stomach right now. I'm sitting down. She's not always cute, but that's just life. But like leaner in my stomach, like my glutes are looking bigger. Like I've just really noticed a little more shape, which is, I think personally, I'm at that point where it's like, yes, a deficit is about weight loss, but for me, it's more about like fat loss and like body composition and like, I don't have a lot of weight to lose, if that makes sense. So for me, I'm not expecting to drop like fucking like 8 kilos in 12 weeks. Absolutely not. I don't intend to do that or to go that low or whatever the thing, as in go that low with calories, but just being able to see my body change and stuff. And like, that's kind of the whole point with the deficit, is to like remove a little bit of the fluff and like, let's see a little more of the, muscle. I forgot the word for a second. So yeah, that's my deficit update. I actually did have a 1.9 kilo drop in the first week. Now that is not fat. That is water weight, because the weekend before I started the deficit, I'd had a party and Mitch and I had a date night. So there was quite a lot of drinks over that weekend, a lot of meals out. Just like, I don't think I even tracked that weekend at all. And I was holding on to a lot of bloody water weight. So that 1.9 kilo drop was definitely not fat, but it was nice to see it come back down to as low as it got in my previous deficit. So that's always a slay. But let's go into the deficit hacks and the whole point of this podcast episode. So I'm just going to scroll down my notes a little bit. I've got 3 main things here, and then I've got 3 points kind of underneath each one. So the first thing I would go to before even going in a deficit, so point number 1 is, if you are currently binge eating, if you are hiding food, hiding wrappers, like if you are getting to the end of the day and you're starving and I've got 1 kilo jar of Biscoff in the cupboard, and if you're someone who had that and you would go and eat the whole thing, or you'd go and eat the whole block of chocolate, or like you'd go and just like eat everything inside, firstly, you are not ready for a deficit. And I see you and I feel you and I hear you, because this was me, and I tried to keep doing a deficit. I tried to keep losing weight even when I was deep in this binge restriction phase, and it only got worse and worse and worse and worse. I would restrict harder and then I would binge harder, and I just kept trying to get myself out of it. And it wasn't until I actually spent, I think it ended up being 2 years out of a deficit, like 2 years at maintenance, building up my calories, getting really high, all done with a coach, before I entered my next deficit. And then like I have done very healthy deficits since then. I can have the 1.6 kilo jar of Biscoff in my cupboard and not even blink twice. I can have a block of chocolate in my fridge for a week or two and not even think about it. I have ice creams that have been in my freezer for ages. I think I've got currently, like, we've got like a tub of ice cream. We've got a box of paddle pops. I've got some leftover like drumsticks. Like, I've literally got all that in my freezer and I don't even think twice about it. So it is one of those things that I promise you, like, you need to take a step back from the deficit, heal your relationship with food, and then you can move into one. So that is kind of like 1 point in itself. So that was really my first point all on its own, because then when you've healed your relationship with food, you've built up your calories, you can eat at maintenance or eat higher, you have more space to play in your calories. You can go out to eat and one meal will not bloat you or send you 2 kilos up, because your body is used to eating a lot more food. And then when you go into the deficit, it is not so hard because your calories are higher in a deficit, right? For example, I used to eat at 12 to 1300 calories a day. And I'm quite a tall girl. That's not very much. I mean, it's not much for anyone, but even for me, like, that was like crazy stuff. And I used to eat at that, and that's when it was really bad, restricting, binging, all the things. And now what's my mate? No, I say that was my deficit, but really, like, I had been dieting for fucking years. So it was probably it was my maintenance at that point. I was trying to keep my weight below 67 kilos. I have a bit of orange in my teeth. If anyone can hear me, like it's really annoying. I tried to pick it out before I started recording, but it's there. Yeah, that was me trying to stay below 67 kilos, which just was so not doable for me. Not at that time, not ever. I currently sit just over 80 kilos, so like imagine me at 67 kilos. Like it was just not good. But that's something else I'll go into. But yeah, if you can pull yourself out of the deficit, work on healing your relationship with food. Highly, highly, highly recommend, because if you can pull back, work on that, then when you go into a deficit, you're actually going to have more success. You'll have learnt more about food. You'll have learnt how to eat more calories. You'll have learnt, how to include your favorite foods, your chocolate, your Biscoff, your ice cream, all the things. And then when you actually go into that healthy deficit, you can eat so much more. So like I said, I was eating 1,300, and then we built up my calories to 2,500, which I actually think when I'm in maintenance, because I don't track as like in depth, I would sit higher than 2,500, to be honest. My deficit calories currently are 2,000. So back then 2,000 was a fucking dream for me because I was eating so little. And now I'm like, that's how I lose weight. So that's a fucking slay. Anyway, that is my first thing. The second thing I want to go into, it is deficit hacks, but / how you can also overcome binge eating. So it's kind of like tips for both of them. The first one that I see, the biggest thing I see is the under eating. So like I just spoke about, eating 1,300 calories, I was skipping breakfast, I was fasting till about 1 p.m. I was living on black coffee before I even ate anything. Like, I remember I was really not doing okay. And like, if this is you, just know that like you're not alone. And I've been there and I've done it, and I know how fucking shit it feels. And I know how hard it is to ask for help, because you think in your head, you think I should be doing better. I should be doing more. I should be able to handle this. Like, it's not hard in quotation marks, but it is hard because it's not what our bodies are meant to do. So I want you to keep that in mind. So the first thing, I can tell you to do is to make sure you are eating breakfast. Eating breakfast is the biggest thing. And then not only breakfast, but having 3 balanced, decent sized meals per day. A really good serving of breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Make sure you've got protein in each. Make sure there is enough volume in these meals, all right? So for example, I can't even think of what I used to eat when I was on my 1,300 calories, but like I would not have been able to eat. I think I would have just been eating a shit ton of fucking like lettuce and berries, to be honest, because I don't think there was much else I could really fit into my day. Obviously like my protein, like my mince and chicken and stuff, but I would have been just living on like fucking nothing. Whereas like now I'm in my deficit and I'm having like my big ass fucking, mushroom cheese omelets with tuna and sauerkraut, or I'm having my big thing of overnight wheat bix with fruit and peanut butter and all the things when I'm at work. And then, for lunches, I'm currently having like burger bowls this week. I've got mince, I've got potato, I've got all the fun things. I've got avocado in there. I've got a nice dressing on there. I had a barramundi burger the other day for lunch. When Mitch cooks, he'll make like the chili chicken pesto pasta, or we'll have steaks with a broccoli bake and more potato, or what else? Oh, he made this like country chicken thing he makes the other night, which was, just chef's kiss, but he puts like a lot of things in there, like oil and butter, and like he can fit like all this stuff into it, and I can still eat what he's eating as well, because 1, 2, 3 meals are going to keep me so full that I actually don't feel the need to be like, fuck, it's 8 p.m. and I want to eat the entire contents of this cupboard. I'm actually eating enough throughout the day that I'm not ravenous by the time the end of the day comes. I'm not constantly thinking about food. I'm not constantly thinking about sweets and treats and all the things. So if you can really focus on at least having 3 meals a day, that will be the first key thing to healing that relationship with food. And have foods that you enjoy as well. Like I said, I was having a burger. We have pasta. I have swapped rice for potatoes in this deficit because you get more volume with potatoes rather than rice. Just like things like that. So that is kind of my first point with that. I totally just had a mental blank. Oh my gosh, I'm looking at my notes, but I've written so much that they're so small on my screen and I can't really read it. 3 meals a day. Oh yeah, and then the last point under this one is starting your day with a high protein and fat meal, which is keeping you fuller for longer. So literally like I just said, I already went into it without even thinking about it. But for me, instead of having like a bowl of oats in a deficit, because I often find that like, yes, whilst I balance them out, I have oats, I add protein powder, I add protein yogurt, I add fruit, I add peanut butter. I just find that like having a hot bowl of oats, it's not as like thick and like dense as my savory breakfast. It's higher carb than my savory breakfast, and therefore it doesn't keep me as full for as long, if that makes sense. So if I had a bowl of oats in a deficit, like, yes, I can, and it's delicious and I love it, but I know I'm not going to be full for as long as if I have my cheese, mushroom, egg omelette with some tuna and stuff like that. Like something that's like really high protein, high fat, and will keep me really, really full for long. I'm just thinking now, it's currently 3 p.m. as I'm recording. I had lunch an hour ago, 2 p.m., and I think I had breakfast at 10. And like I was not even hungry until I went and had lunch. Like that kept me going for 4 hours. So highly recommend something that's higher protein and higher fat in the morning. And then that way you also make sure you're getting in your proteins and your fats, because again, as a coach, one of the number one things I see is people really, really struggling to hit their protein and their fat goals, and then they wonder why they're starving, and then they wonder why they're not feeling as good, or they're not seeing any muscle, or like they can't lose weight. And that is because we need proteins and fats more than anything. Like, yes, carbs, absolutely, they're an energy source, but I put a minimum amount of protein and fats for each client in response to their body, because we actually need both of these things. And there shouldn't be a second thought to your carbs. Carbs is kind of the third thought. Like for me, example again, like when I drop deficit calories, I will take most of it from carbs, and then depending on how the split was looking, I'll take a little bit from protein or fats. Again, depending on each person and how their split was looking, but most of it comes from carbs, because yes, you can still have your carbs, but you just won't be having as much, because we really need to hit that minimum protein and fat target. So if you can prioritize that first meal of the day to have minimum protein and fats, like I said, I think my omelette, I think it's like 40 grams of protein. It would be at least 20 grams of fat, I would say. It's a hearty meal. But it works so well. It's the best thing that I've done in this deficit so far, because I only started doing it in this deficit, not the last ones, and I find it is working an absolute bloody treat. So, yeah. Okay, the third and final point. So the first one I had was about binge eating. If you're still binge eating, you need to come out of it, focus on healing your relationship with food. Second point was, if you are still binging, how to kind of overcome it, or if you're still a bit food focused, how to overcome it. And that's where I had my other 3 points under that. My last point, and this is the biggest point, this is the key, to pre-plan. And there's a few ways we can look at this. So firstly, pre-planning your week as a whole. So I will always look into my calendar a week ahead, and this, I don't know, this is just the nature of me, my ADHD, my OCD, but I will always look into my calendar for the week ahead, and I go, okay, let's assume I'm home every day for all my meals I'm in, or like at work or whatever. And then let's look at like where I'm meeting someone for brunch, or like where I'm going out for dinner. For example, tomorrow night I've got a housewarming at my friend's house, and then on Sunday is Father's Day, so we'll do a Father's Day brunch. So I looked at my calendar and I was like, okay, this week I just have dinner at Mitch's parents', which we didn't end up doing because Mitch was very sick. We then have housewarming tomorrow night, and then we have a Father's Day brunch on Sunday. So I looked at that. I planned in a way of like, I planned my food around it, which I'll get to in a second. But for the housewarming, my friend was like, what do we want to eat? And I was like, I actually went to say taco bowls, and someone else was like, tacos. So I was like, that's freaking perfect, because it's something that like, that's like, I've said what I would want, because in a way I can control it. I can still have a taco bowl. Like, I don't need to, depending on how the rest of my day goes, I have a very busy day tomorrow. But depending on how the rest of my day goes, I, potentially can just like go without the tacos and just load up a bowl of like salads and mince and cheese and sour cream and stuff, save calories that way. I can still control my calories because I'm controlling what I'm putting onto my plate. So that's amazing that I can do that with my friends. And then again, Father's Day brunch, like we're not going out to eat. Even if we were like at a restaurant, I can control what I can control. I'll still have something I want to eat, but I'll just be a bit more mindful with it. But the good thing with what we're doing is that we're like going to my brother's house and doing like a big cook up of like eggs, bacon, hash browns, I don't know, avocado croissants, like a whole big cook up of things. And I can still track it and control it because we're doing it at home, and I can just easily build my own plate and then put it into my fitness pal, stuff like that. But usually I would be doing things where I can't do that. So I would always look at like, okay, where am I having a meal out, and then what can I have at home? So something that I'm doing is, as well as pre-planning the week, is calorie cycling. So I'm actually trying to stick to about 1900 on the weekdays. So then by the time I get to the end of the week, I've got an extra, I'm sitting between 18 to 1900 during the week. So by the time I get to the end of the week, I've got an extra anywhere between like 500 to 1000 calories to play with for the weekend, for my meals out. And again, it's that thing of where I said before about, you know, when you build up your calories, you have more space to play. So like you can look at my deficit at 1800 and it's actually lower than what my actual deficit is, but it gives me all that space to play with calories on the weekend. So looking at that, I'm doing the calorie cycling. That's, I think, has been helping a lot as well. And then on those days where I would go out for brunch or dinner or whatever the thing is, always look at, okay, how can I control my meals around it? So, for example, what did I do the other day? I had a brunch. That doesn't really... I was like, that example's not good because I had brunch and dinner out, but they were the only two meals I ate that day. They were both like quite big meals. And then I had little like snacks around, like in between and stuff, just because I was like a little bit hungry. But again, the brunch and the dinner kept me really freaking full. I had things like fruit, yogurt, like just like little things like proteiny, fruity, like fibery kind of foods. But for example, if I was going out to, let's say going out for dinner or a party or something that night and I had zero control, I don't even know what we're doing or what's on the menu or what I'm going to be drinking, which that's a whole other point in itself. But like if I don't know anything, I really try and control what I can. So firstly, I will always still do some movement. I find if I'm drinking, I will not go to the gym, because if I gym and then drink, I don't know. I don't know, it cooks me. I don't know, it does something to me. So I'll try not to gym, but I'll do a walk. I'll always get my steps in. I'll always drink all my water. And my meals throughout the day will be more focused on higher protein, more fruit and veg, and lower calories. So by reducing the carbs and the fats, reducing the calories, and then that way, you know, I've got, again, more space for fun later. So for example, like a typical breakfast I would have would be like a protein yogurt bowl with fruit, maybe a bit of peanut butter, like a little bit of that, and not like a little bit of YoPro, that's just whatever. I get Greek yogurt, very high protein, low carb, low fat, and then I put protein powder in it, give it a good stir, because obviously we want to get some flavor to the Greek yogurt. I could not have Greek yogurt on its own. I think that's so I'll do that, and then chuck heaps of like berries or apple, like some kind of fruit on there, and then just make like this big huge bowl. And like trying to have like meals where it's still fun, it's still yum, it still fills you up, but also you got to sacrifice something so that you do have the space later on in the day, so then you can actually stick to your calories for the overall week. So that's my first point, is planning out your week. When are you eating out? When are you being at home? What can you control where you can at home, right? The second point is plan your day in MFP. I just realized I wrote DAP and I was like, what am I talking about? Planning your day in MFP, so MyFitnessPal. So for example, I had a client who started a deficit this week, again, in line with the 12-week challenge. I'm very excited. She's come from a background with other coaches where they just didn't give a shit, didn't listen to her. They didn't really try and put her calories up. They just really put her into an unhealthy deficit, never really looked at anything else. And when she came to me, I was like, right, we're going to look at maintenance, and then we'll, you know, do what we need to do. And then once I think you're ready for a deficit, we can put you into one. Literally 3 weeks ago, I said to her, okay, what I need you to do if you want to do a deficit in line with the challenge, we've got to like clean your shit up for the next 3 weeks. And she'll be listening to this. Got to clean your shit up for the next 3 weeks. I said, you need to be getting those steps in that I've asked you to do. Her training was fine it was so fine. She was always hitting all her sessions. I said, I want you to be hitting your protein, really trying to hit these calories. So like tracking everything that you can, and then whatever you can't track, put it in the food journal so I can see it. And then that way I can see the whole week. I can see you've done your steps. I can see you've done your training. I can see what you're eating. I can see what we need to adjust. I can see how the calories are working for you. And I tell you, a switch fucking flipped in her brain. 3 weeks ago, I had to tell her to do all that, and she's just fucking done it every single week. We literally go to start the deficit this week. I go to do a check-in on Monday. First day of the deficit, I went to look through all her data in the back end, MyFitnessPal, EverFit, everything. And she had literally already planned her whole entire week this week in MyFitnessPal from Monday to Friday. I was like, holy shit. Because usually I'm looking at the week before and I'm looking at, what did you eat? How did you feel? 1,000,001 things that I do in check-ins. And I was like, she's already planned Monday to Friday in her deficit. Everything was planned fucking perfectly. The meals were planned out. There was fruits, there was veggies, there's protein, there's fats, there's carbs. Like, she literally had it all perfect. And she even said, she goes, I did it all on Sunday. It was about 45 minutes of me just like playing around, trying to make sure everything was fitting my macros. She goes, and it was fucking annoying. I nearly gave up. She goes, but it was short-term pain for long-term gain, I should say. And I was like, yeah, because she now has not had to think of a single fucking thing for 5 days. Everything is ready. Numbers are in there. She might just have to go in and double check how much of something, but like everything is ready to go. She's pre-planned all her days in MyFitnessPal. And now we just need to look at the weekend, and literally, because it's Father's Day, I said, let me know what you're doing on Father's Day. Oh my God, excuse me. Let me know what you're doing on Father's Day. Like, send me a message, like send me the menu, whatever it is, and I'll tell you like what I think will be good, and I'll give you your tactics and what I think you should do around it. And we already planned it by Wednesday, and Father's Day is not till Sunday. Just blown away. Anyway, pre-planning in MyFitnessPal, always. I always suggest start with looking at obviously your 3 main meals, looking at what protein source you're going to have in there, where you can add in some fruit and where you can add in some veggies, because that's going to bring up the fiber. And then you can look at, okay, once you've planned out those 3 meals and you've got meals you're happy with, then you can look at, okay, where's a bit more of my fun? So let's, I would say most people after planning their 3 meals would have a couple hundred calories left. So looking at like, what do you like to have for snacks? Like, do you like chips or popcorn, or do you love chocolate or snakes, or do you love ice cream? Like, if you can plan your main meals first, make sure you're hitting your protein, your fats, your fruits, your veggies, your fiber, then you have so much more room to play with these fun things. And that's exactly what I do. So I'm a deficit girly. A deficit? I'm going to say I'm a dessert girly. I'm a dessert girly. I'm an absolute bloody chocolate fiend. I fucking love chocolate and I love ice cream, and I will have one or the other, or sometimes both, every single day. I love it. But I will always plan it in after my main meals and after any other snacks that I put in throughout the day. And the reason being for this is because I love to be a balanced queenie. I love it all. But yes, whilst I include my fave things, I also don't want to have to cut some of my meals down or cut some calories down, all because later on I think I might want a cornetto or a paddle pop or something like that. So I will generally do my main meals and then I'll have options. So I've had my breakfast, lunch, dinner. I get to the end of the day. If I have like 100 calories, I might just go a paddle pop. If I have over 200 calories, then I can go like a drumstick. Like, I have options in my house, so I know I have variety firstly, but also I know that I will always be able to fit something in without compromising anything in my day, any of my other snacks. Like, sometimes, like, I might plan, okay, my quote unquote 2 snacks for like today. First one was a pre-workout, which was banana and Biscoff, slay. And then my second one was an orange. And I just know that, what's the time? 3:15. I just know I'm probably not going to make it to dinner. So if I had just planned those as my snack, and then I had planned my breakfast, lunch, dinner, I'd plan those 2 snacks, and then I'd plan a dessert, I don't want to be sitting here stressing about, oh no, I want to eat my cornetto later, so I can't fit in another snack before dinner, which is in 4 hours, which is going to leave me fucking starving. Like, that's not efficient. That is not, I personally think that's not a great way to do a deficit. Yes, I am working at home today, so I do have space to move it all around. But if you're at work, obviously you've got to be even more pre-planned ahead. But yeah, if I decide I want to have something else, I've hit my protein for the day, which is like, but if I decide I want to have another snack in like an hour or two before dinner, then I know that like, I already know I have a couple hundred calories left, but I will probably use 200 calories of that. And then I might be left with enough space for just a paddle pop instead of said drumstick, right? So a paddle pop is like 84 calories. My drumsticks were like 200 and something. So it does make a big difference. So I like having the options. We also have the tub of ice cream and jelly light, so I could also just put like a little bit of ice cream with some jelly light, make it something more high volume but for a lot less calories, because the jelly light, which literally has like no calories in it, has filled up a lot of the bowl, and then it's just like ice cream on top for a bit of fun. So that was that point, is planning your day in MyFitnessPal. Plan your 3 meals, always include your protein source, make it fun. Maybe you want to have some chicken and then you want to turn it into a pasta, and like whatever kind of pasta you like to have, but like make it fun, but base it around fruits, veggies, fiber, protein, and your fats, obviously. I think that is all. I don't know how long I've been speaking for because I'm recording this a little differently, and so I can't actually see the time on how long I've been recording it. If you haven't noticed, this season has been really about like, I'm just hit and miss, like not hit and miss, but like just like trialing and erroring things and like seeing what works, and like I will always appreciate any comments, feedback, anything on these episodes. I get to the end and I'm like, I'm so ADHD that I'm like, A, I have no fucking idea how long I've been talking for. B, I'm like, did any of that make any sense? But C, I'm like, someone will have got something from this. There is so much in there. I'm so guilty of like wanting to provide so much value and give so much to everyone that I get in my head trying to pull it back. Like this was me trying to pull it back. Like there is so much education and value in this noggin of mine that it's begging to come out. It is begging to come out. So anyway, I'm going to wrap this up here. A reminder, like just to finish off, that it is not normal to be eating 1,200 calories and losing weight. It is not normal to be binging and to feel shit and restricted and everything with your food. You can eat more calories and lose weight. All my clients, I literally have a client who, she's a fucking short queenie. I don't know her proper height, but she's a lot shorter than me. She's literally in a deficit on 2,000 calories as well, just over 2,000, so a little bit more than me. And she's literally dropped 4 kilos in 8 weeks. Like, try and tell me you need to eat 1,200 calories to lose weight, because you do not. You do not. I promise you do not. I even had a girl last year, she'll be listening to this too, and she dropped, what did we put her calories on, like 1,800, and she weighed 53 kilos, like 53? I think she ended up at 53. We started at 56. This was like a year ago, so it's not on the top of my head. But like, yeah, point is, she was small. She was like, a very petite girly, and she still was only at like 1,800 calories for a deficit. So you do not need 1,200 to lose weight, especially as a fully grown fucking woman. You can eat more food and you can lose weight and enjoy your life and make it a fun process, and it doesn't have to be shit. So I'm going to leave you with that. As always, any likes, comments, I keep saying subscribes. Is that the thing on Spotify? I don't know. Follows, that's a thing. Follows, rates, everything like that is always so appreciated, and I really, really appreciate you guys for listening. And if you got anything out of it, please message me, comment below, send me a DM on Instagram. I would love to hear it. As always, I would love it as well if you would share any of these episodes to your story, what you got out with them. Just try and get Balancing Healthy out there to the world, because I have a lot of plans for this podcast. And obviously I did the event a few weeks ago, but there's more things, there's more plans, there's more people I want to, get quote unquote in touch with through a podcast episode. And there's more people I want to help and inspire and do other things for. So I know there are people out there that are going to need this episode, and I know that it will, just be kind of like that permission piece to eat more food and enjoy life and lose weight and just have fun in the process. So I'm going to wrap it up there, like I said I would about 5 minutes ago. Hope you guys enjoy your morning, day, night, whatever time you're listening to this, and I'll speak to you in next week's episode. Bye.